pledge allegiance to the flag.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would you do the roll call, please, Dawn?
Peggy Harris, first floor, Gables East. Peggy Harris, Gables East, second floor.
She's not here.
Gables East, third floor, Dorothy Savigny. Gables East, fourth floor, John Dorotix.
Here.
Gables East, fifth floor, Phyllis Schwartz.
Here.
Gables West, first and second, Bob Case.
Here.
Gables West, third floor, Judith Laughlin.
Here.
Gables West, fourth floor, Eric Mueller.
Here.
Gables West, fifth floor, Ron Sharpless.
Here.
And Harbor Terrace, Bob Weta.
Yeah, I
No.
don't see Bob.
Absent. You have the floor.
Yeah, maybe he's not feeling well. All right, minutes of the last meeting, are there any changes, corrections? Otherwise, may I have a motion that it's be approved?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
All right, motion's been made and seconded, and the minutes are approved. Administrative report, Brian Hess.
Good morning, everybody. All right, so I'll give you an occupancy update real quick for Southport. We are, Smita's tinkering with the microphones. We are currently at 272 occupied apartments in independent living with 354 residents. That is a 65% occupancy rate. We are seeing in our sales world, we are seeing a lot more interest and peak coming back into the sales office, so that's been good news. Our hot board seems to be pretty full most of the time. For the month of July, we anticipated 3 move-ins and 5 move-outs. 4 of those were transfers over to the health center, to the assisted living, so those are folks that are moving through the continuum of care. So the number, the 272 number already includes some of those move-outs in it, in there. So our skilled nursing is currently at 89 out of 120 beds. Our assisted living is 49 out of 76 units, and our memory care is 47 out of 48 units. So our memory care has been very strong with some closures of other memory cares in the community due to COVID, has really pushed some additional volume toward us. So a COVID update. So if you've been watching the news lately, you're hearing a little bit about some of the spike in cases and the Delta variant that's kind of been out there. The nation has seen a spike in the past several weeks. The state of Florida currently is at a 15.1% positivity rate. So to kind of put that in perspective for you, the state of Florida was under 4% several weeks ago. So we've seen a very large jump in the state of Florida. Charlotte County is also up at 12.6% positivity rate right now, and they were previously under 4% several weeks ago. So we are seeing those numbers increase pretty significantly in our local area. We currently have 5 confirmed positive cases of COVID on our campus. That's 4 staff members and 1 assisted living resident at this time. So we are seeing that the virus is unfortunately creeping back into the community and back into Southport. We are doing everything we can to mitigate. Some of these folks that have the virus have been vaccinated. It's unfortunate that it is still impacting those people. They're just becoming less impacted by the virus if they do get it. So with the county positivity rate currently over 10%, that means CMS standards that we live by and abide by in our skilled nursing require us to go back to a twice weekly testing module for our skilled nursing staff. So we started today, and we are doing our first testing for this week. We'll do another one on Friday, and we'll continue that until our positivity rate for the county comes back down. So we did progress into full reopening in our independent living buildings a few weeks ago. I think you probably recall the memo I sent out regarding going back to full reopening. We were still working on kind of getting the dining rooms back to full operation capacity like it was pre-COVID. Unfortunately, right now with the spike in cases, we are going to probably re-implement some safety restrictions here on our campus. That will be more impacted toward visitors, where visitors can go. What we've seen in the LCS communities is that the cases that have kind of come through have been linked directly back to some visitors, unfortunately. So we want to just try to be as safe as possible. My goal is to not have an outbreak and have residents in our independent living side get the virus, because then we would have to go back and re-implement some restrictions. So I'd like to take about 2 weeks and kind of pump the brakes a little bit and just see where we can go, if we can keep everybody safe and sound here and just raise awareness and be as safe as possible. Then in a couple of weeks we'll reevaluate and see kind of where the state and the county rate is sitting at, and whether we feel comfortable enough to go back to sort of that full reopening. That also being said, we do have the ability to administer the vaccine still, so I know we have a very high percentage of residents that are vaccinated, but we do have a few still that are not. So we are able to administer the vaccine for our residents and our staff here on our campus. So we are sending that back out to our staff to make sure that they know and are aware that they can get that. And you all as residents, if you are not vaccinated and would like to be vaccinated, we have the ability to provide that to you. We have 2 separate vaccine options. We can get the Johnson & Johnson or the Moderna vaccine. So the Johnson & Johnson is a 1-dose shot, and the Moderna is a 2-dose shot. So if you are interested in that, please let me know, or you can reach out to Dawn, and we'll get you connected so we can get the virus or the vaccine administered. We are currently working on a drainage project at the back of the village entrance to Gables West that is going to include some of the water runoff spouts that come down. You'll see some digging. They already started some of that work. You'll see some digging continue as we work through that drainage project. As soon as we're done with that, we will be redoing or reinstalling some of the landscaping in those mulch beds from the palm tree removal in the back there. So we're going to get the drainage fixed, and then we'll replant those beds and hopefully beautify that area a little bit more. We have been granted approval to move forward with the exterior door project, which will provide for the key fob entry to our exterior doors of our Gables East and Gables West buildings. It also will provide for some automation on some of those doors, which will be nice. So you'll be able to fob, key fob like you do your resident door, and it will automatically open some of the exterior doors for you. So we'll be working through that project. We hope that that starts within the next month, and as we move through that project, if there is any impact, which we don't see there being any, but if there is, we will make sure we communicate that out to you all. I also sent out a memo about a week or 2 ago regarding a change in leadership in our assisted living. Leila Gilliard, who many of you know, has left her role here at Southport Square. David Reiser, David, raise your hand in the back there. David Reiser is our associate administrator here, and David has graciously stepped in to become the interim assisted living director for the time being. David is a licensed nursing home administrator, so his license covers the assisted living as well. And so he'll be filling in there. We are looking for a permanent placement in that role, but he will be filling in for the time being. If anybody does need anything, have any questions, please reach out to David. He is at extension 401 if you want to contact him. And then I'm pleased to announce the start of our new executive chef, Scott Smolinski. Scott started today. I went down and met with him this morning. He came to us from Indiana, got in late last night, and really excited about Scott being here. He has a very extensive background in culinary, and just a really, really nice guy. So excited to have Scott on board. Please join me in welcoming him. He probably will not be actually in the kitchens and kind of getting his feet wet in the buildings for several more days, probably not till early next week as he goes through our orientation process. But excited to have Scott in his new role here. This Friday, we are hosting a hurricane informational meeting. For those of you that would like to participate or come hear about stuff, it is going to be presented by Lynn Stickley, who is I'm going to get her title right here. She is the Emergency Management Specialist from Charlotte County Emergency Management. And so we work with her specifically more in our Harbor Health Center building for planning for hurricanes, things like that. But she has graciously agreed to come and present sort of the county's planning process and what they do from a county level and how the emergency operations works at the county. And I will be there to present with her so that we can talk about how that impacts you all as residents here at Southport Square. This is a little different than somebody that just lives in their own home in Charlotte County. And so it'll be a nice joint presentation. I'm looking forward to having her here and chatting with y'all. So if you'd like to attend that, that's this Friday at 10 a.m. right here in Town Hall. And then the last piece I'd like to share, and I believe hopefully the most exciting news. I received late last evening a phone call that we were granted approval to move forward with our Gables East renovation project. So yes, super exciting, and they are looking to get it started ASAP. So now that the clock is running on me, so we will be, Randy, by the way, we got approval for Gables East renovation. He doesn't know it. So this was like breaking news, and I was so excited to come and share with you all here. But we already have some gears churning in the background. We'll have some vendors on site walking through the buildings, as well as a designer. As soon as we get some of those options pulled together, I will be working with resident council to pull sort of a committee together to make some final decisions on decor and things like that. And we will be moving forward as quickly as possible. So Health Peak's capital budget year ends November 30th. And so what they are asking us to do is to try and get as much of the project completed and paid for before November 30th this year. So that just kind of gives you a little bit of the idea of the time frame. One of the challenges that we will be faced with, and as we kind of move through this, we'll share more information, but the construction industry, unfortunately, right now has a lot of challenges, not only with labor and finding staff to work, but also with supplies and materials. So we will be limited from a timeline standpoint based on what we can get our hands on from a labor and a supply standpoint, but we will be moving as quickly as possible through that project. So very pleased to be able to announce that here and move forward with that project. So thank you very much. That's all I have to share today.
Well, obviously, that's great to hear. Right, happy. Any questions, John?
2 questions. 2 questions. First is the number of residents at extended care over at Harbor Health. Is that because of staffing or just not? And number 2 is the impact of pumping the brakes. What does that do to fully opening the bistro?
So yes, the occupancy at Harbor Health is largely impacted by staffing. So our skilled nursing, long-term care areas, so the long-term care and the rehabilitation side of skilled nursing, that has a staffing ratio that we have to abide by with the state, and we do stay above the staffing ratio. But if we do drop below that ratio for more than 2 days, we have to go on what is called an admission moratorium. And so we work very hard to not drop below that standard for more than a day, because we don't want to go onto a moratorium. So what we've been working on, our weekend staffing is our biggest challenge right now, and it's finding staff. Dawn Taylor, our HR director, is in the back. She's been doing a great job in recruiting, but it's very challenging to get CNAs anywhere in the state of Florida and even across the country right now into place. So as we've been looking at this, we are challenged with CNAs. We have actually, our nursing staff is pretty good. It's the CNA side that we really struggle with. So we do have to drop our census down on the weekends to make sure that we stay within those ratios, and that's what's really causing some challenges for us right now. That mixed with the fact that it is summer months here in the state of Florida. We don't have all the snowbirds down here as we normally would in the winter months, so that's impacting a little bit as well. But largely it is staffing that we've had such a decrease in our Harbor Health Center. The second question about the reopening, it will not impact our bistro reopening schedule. We are still working on the staffing side of getting the bistro reopened. But the kind of the pumping the brakes with some new restrictions, going to be more focused on where visitors can go. So we just won't allow visitors to go into some common area spaces probably, which would mean the bistro, taking visitors into the bistro. We also, I am currently discussing potentially putting a face covering process back in place for 2 weeks for those that are fully vaccinated as well. So those are some things that I will be communicating out later today when we make some final decisions based on some guidance and support from some of the powers that be and those that are very closely networked and seeing what's happening across the board. But it will not impact our bistro. Unfortunately, right now, that is truly just trying to find the staff to cover that bistro as well. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, mask, you're gonna make folks that are vaccinated mask again?
So we are considering that at this time, and I've got to make some final decisions on that today, but that has not been set in stone yet, but that has been some discussions that we've been having just based on what they're seeing in some of the other communities that are occurring.
I'm glad I'm leaving for 2 weeks. The staffing at Harbor rehab, if it affects rehab, is there any kind of a plan in place? Like if I all of a sudden fall and do something stupid and I need rehab, is the staffing going to impact the fact that if I come from the hospital, I'm going to have to go somewhere else for rehab?
No, so we are still making sure that our residents are able to get in. So usually if somebody goes to the hospital, we're tracking that as soon as they get into the hospital, and we're able to make sure that we have beds available when they come back. Just maybe a further note, so from the staffing standpoint, again, the recruitment component is the largest piece. We have been trying to get additional staffing through what is called contract labor agencies that provide some of that staffing. They are heavily recruiting in this area, and we're finding a lot of times they're not able to provide staffing even. So it's not a matter of, where these people are, it's just getting them, into the building. So it is, it's a challenge that everybody, unfortunately, in this county and in the state even is really struggling with at this time, which is causing some impacts of occupancy in these types of buildings. However, we will make sure that our residents are taken care of if they do end up in the hospital and need that rehabilitation over there.
Any other questions? All right. Moving on, the floor reports. Gables East, first and second floor. Peggy?
Microphone?
Yeah, sorry.
The primary piece of information for Gables East first and second is that we did change the time and the day of our meeting. So this has been approved by Smita, who coordinates all the meeting places. So we will now be working on the second meeting on the second Wednesday, 2 o'clock in the third floor lounge. Everything else people can read in the written minutes.
Dorothy, I guess you're next.
Yes.
Ron, thank you for taking care of my minutes last week. I was off visiting in Denver with my sister at a Brookdale, and I don't think they're getting cookies either. Our last meeting was held on Thursday, July the 15th. There were 15 residents in attendance. We did not have a speaker scheduled. The main area of concern was the need for electric power surge protection, as several residents had items affected by the storm that second week of this month. Our next meeting is scheduled for the 19th of August at 1:30 in the third floor lounge.
John?
Fourth floor had no meeting.
Our speaker at the fifth floor meeting was to be Jorge Roman, newly returned dining room manager, but due to the hurricane and staff schedules being changed, he was unable to be with us. The group was told about new and soon-to-be new residents on our floor. Nina Teneglia was welcomed by all residents. Residents were reminded of the necessity to open lanai vinyls slightly in the event of strong force winds. As explained to me by Brian, this reduces the pressure and the force against the vinyls and minimizes damage to them. This advisory is also on the first page of our hurricane preparation guides. Special concern, since there has been a great deal of concern relative to the upcoming increase in our monthly fees, residents would like Vicki Barone to speak at our next meeting, and I have pursued that, and she will be there.
Bob? You pass the microphone to Bob, please.
Ready for west versus second floors report?
Yeah.
Report for Gables West first and second floor. Collier on the first floor continues to have an issue with the apartments that are being used for storage. I was informed that there's a bug situation, so I know we have contracted out for insect or control and so on and so forth, but I don't know what their schedule is. But I passed by there more than once, and I don't see anything, but I have to report what others say is occurring. The Gables West first floor will not have a meeting in August because the floor representative and alternate will be away for continuing education. So we'll resume that floor's meetings in September. The second floor, the area where the kitchen staff comes across and where people from Flagler in particular come down to come to the dining room, it's better, I'm told, from the standpoint of potential crashes. But I know at least one couple now, they can enter the dining room without crossing over that conflict area. That's all I have to report. Thank you.
Third floor, Judith?
I will have a very short statement. The floor meeting that was scheduled for July 16th was canceled due to the residents preferring to attend the first session of the Mid-County Library book club session. And I will coordinate with SMETA to see if we can resolve the conflict between those sessions and the floor meeting. But she's been kind of staffing challenged, so I'll catch up with her later.
The fourth floor, Eric?
The fourth floor meeting in West Gables was held on July the 8th. Both Beverly Winslow and myself could not attend, and Marilyn Hill handled the meeting very well. There were 15 residents present, and they all expressed their thanks to the staff for the excellent care of residents during the storm Elsa. The new residents who we're having on Flagler and DeSoto, there will be two apartments that will be occupied. They did mention that an air conditioning problem still exists on the Flagler wing, and air conditioning unit in the game room is troublesome and noisy at times. Our next meeting will be August the 12th.
Gables West fifth floor, and our meeting was held in the game room on the 14th, starting at 10 and ending at 11:15. 17 residents were in attendance. We had as a speaker Jorge Roman of Dining Services, who went over his background. He's here part-time with 1 day for training of staff. We have seen improvements in that area. Activities presented a full schedule. The dining services meeting was not held as the director didn't show. No fire and safety report. Housekeeping was asked how much time is spent in each apartment, so we hope to hear about that. Apparently they're short about 5 people, and of course the health news was also given. According to the latest directory, there are 136 apartments in each independent living building. 68% in the east and 62% in the west. The 5% monthly fee increase was met with displeasure. We're not getting what we pay for. No lounge, no hot food in the bistro, projects not started, etc., etc. Next month's meeting will be on August 11 with Brian Hess as our speaker. Response from management and any council members. Brian?
So I'll run down the list real quick of things for follow-up. Bob, you mentioned the storage apartments and the bug issue in the Collier wing, and I believe I know the apartment you're speaking of, that we've had some concerns there previously. I also have reviewed that myself, and I have not found anything, but we do have our pest control company, and I will have them go and investigate again there and make sure we get that addressed. Also, there was a comment about the second floor dining room and just staff, maybe we need a stoplight up there or something going through the hallways. But I'll work with Brenda and Randy probably and see maybe we could do like a mirror just on the inside of the kitchen area so that you can kind of see where it's not in the hallway, but the staff can see if somebody's coming. But we might be able to come up with a solution that might help there. So, and we'll definitely raise awareness of staff going through that corridor. The Flagler wing and game room ACs, the 4th floor ACs. So I will have maintenance go and check those again. Randy's in the back. I don't know if he knows this off the top of his head right now, but we have placed orders for any ACs where we have challenges with. We are, continually getting them in with some of the backlog and supplies. I don't know if any of those are the impacted ones, but we'll review the Flagler wing and then the game room as well and see if we can get those replaced or recharged if necessary. But thank you for bringing that to my attention. And then the last piece, just the mention of the rate increases. So I've heard, a couple of comments about the rate increases, and this year was definitely a challenge. This past year with COVID was a big challenge, and we continue to see challenges and costs. For those of you that have been able to attend any of the OIR quarterly financial reviews this year, you've kind of seen our financial picture is very, very different than it has been previously. Some of that is revenue and occupancy driven, which we are working to get rebuilt back up. But the other piece of that is the expense side for labor, staffing challenges, as well as some of the other costs that have gone up quite significantly. So that is largely driven based on, the increase is largely driven based on that consumer price increase. And we looked long and hard at that consumer price index as a community and from the corporate level as well to see what we could do to not put the full effect of the impact into place. And so we did dial it back a little bit and kind of went where we felt we could make it happen, but also try to put as little impact to you as possible. Unfortunately, it was a big swing, and we have seen a lot of those costs go up. So I definitely am more than happy to speak with anybody that would like to review that or talk or discuss, kind of why that percentage was where it was, and address any concerns or questions. And Vicki has something in the back there as well.
It'll also be discussed at the next OIR meeting.
Okay. So just so everybody hears that, sorry, mask went away. Vicki just said she is going to present that at the next OIR meeting as well, a quarterly OIR meeting for those people that would like to attend that. That is open for all residents to come to here in Town Hall. So if you'd like to hear more about the rate increase and kind of why and the details behind it, please come to that meeting as well. So, yes.
Brian,
Fridays, they were talking about pest control, just so everybody knows, pest control is here on Tuesdays and Fridays.
Okay.
So if you put a work order in, like on a Tuesday morning, they will be there that day, but if you put it in Wednesday, you're gonna wait a couple days.
Okay. So the comment was our pest control company is here Tuesdays and Fridays. So if you put a work order in the system, if you put it in Tuesday morning, you can most likely have that service that day. If it's Wednesday that you get to it or that you recognize some pests, it would be till Friday until they come back. So just please note that they are here twice per week and they are very timely when they are here, but they do come Tuesday and Friday.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? All right, moving on, standing committee reports, activities, John Doradics.
Okay, August is going to be a very busy month, so please pay attention to your weekly schedule. Just a couple items that are going to be taking place. August 4th, Seriously Silly Singers Concert in Town Hall. That should be interesting. On the 11th of August, there's a viola and piano concert in Town Hall at 2 o'clock. And on the 12th of August, there's going to be a bus to go to the Sonny's Comedy Club. The information will come out about that, ticket prices and all that information will come later. But please pay attention to your weekly schedule.
Thank you. Dining, Judith?
Okay, the minutes of the Dining Room Services Committee, the meeting was held on July 23rd, and it was chaired by Brenda. And I will reserve reading the 2.5 pages worth of minutes, but just to give everybody a few words. The new chef has arrived, as Brian has said, and will be completing his orientation. Brenda has many plans for the bistro, most of which will depend on staffing. If we can get adequate staffing in the bistro, we will have a very nice operation there. Her goal is to extend hours, include weekends, be able to serve wine and beer, which apparently we are licensed to do, and make the bistro part of a very nice experience out in the village. The county health department has cited the floor in Gables East is not meeting requirements, and Brenda will work with Brian about how to handle that issue. Let's see, recipe books are supposed to be outside of the dining rooms. Apparently they are in Gable East. Last time I looked, they were not in Gables West. Concerns were from the residents were in regard to the increase in COVID cases, and it has been noted that a number of the residents already have colds and various upper respiratory problems, and so there was really no big push for wanting to relax the precautions that we're already taking. In fact, Brenda noted that the number of requests for food deliveries to apartments has increased from 2 to 9 per day, suggesting that people are really isolating themselves from others when they're not feeling well. Let's see, there are difficulties making reservations in Gables West, but that seems to be related to the answering machine, and Brenda will look into that. And a very major concern on the part of my husband, actually, that there was at least one instance in which a menu item differed between Gables East and Gables West. And of course, one is always, if you live in Gables West, you're always assured that Gables East is getting a much better deal. In this case, it was chicken and waffles for Gables East, and chicken cacciatore in Gables West, and Brenda said that was absolutely a mistake, that everything should have been chicken cacciatore, but the menu was not corrected. But then it was mentioned that frozen yogurt is a dessert choice in Gables East, but not in Gables West. So Brenda will make sure that this discrepancy is rectified. And my long minutes will be in the minutes of this meeting and can be read by everyone.
Yeah.
I made a mistake. Phyllis doesn't give the housekeeping reports anymore. Do you have a housekeeping report, Dawn?
Well, I got a unofficial report from Dorothy Savigny, from, who gave it to you, Ken?
Ken Buck.
Yeah, Ken Buck. It's actually a very comprehensive report. I can throw it in as the housekeeping, but I wasn't aware.
Is there anything important you want to pass on to the residents?
No, I can put it right in the minutes.
No, it'll be in minutes, okay.
I mean, is
fine.
this acceptable to take as the report?
Pardon?
Is this acceptable to take as the report?
Yes.
Yes?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
you include it in the minutes, yes, Phyllis?
Is Sheila here? I can't see. Maybe she could talk about what went on at the meeting. If she's here, I can't see if she is.
She is, yeah.
If she has anything important for us, maybe she could briefly tell us.
Okay. Celia, did you hear that? Do you have anything of importance that you would want to pass on?
Only thing was the window cleaning. Window cleaning will start today.
Hold on, Sheila.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good.
The only thing was window cleaning, which starts today, and vinyl cleaning started last week.
Okay. To the point. Moving on then. Bob, fire and safety.
Thank you, Ron. Relative to the Fire and Safety Committee meeting held in July, this month, the 21st, Randy started the meeting by announcing that Southport Square will be getting a new apartment check-in system. The old pull cords and push-button pads will be replaced with a wireless system. This led to a discussion of how and who does the fire and safety inspections and repairs around the campus. Randy stressed that many of these issues have to be subcontracted out rather than done in-house due to liability concerns. Sometime soon, a company specializing in sprinkler systems will be coming to our apartments to inspect each and every sprinkler head and all the heads throughout the campus. It takes time and may be inconvenient, but needs to be done on a regular basis to keep us in compliance with the state. While speaking about the sprinkler heads, Randy also explained how the system works. There was discussion about the fire extinguishers throughout the building. Randy again stressed that these existing extinguishers are part of regularly scheduled mandatory inspections, as are the fire alarms that go off every now and then. It is part of the Southport Square training program. Regarding the fire alarm, Randy tries to run the alarm only long enough to ensure the emergency lighting and automatically closing fire doors are functioning. After the alarm stops, the training continues for employees. The fire water pump and all the generators are checked once a week to ensure proper functioning. The need for the outside doors to be opened by being triggered by our key fobs. Well, Brian, our executive director, covered that. And the question of whether the emergency staircases have safety lights was addressed. Randy will do an inspection to assure that all the stairwells have emergency lighting. And the last point, what is the maximum space allowable beneath a fire door? Randy said 3/4 of an inch. He then explained that fires burn up toward the ceiling and not down to the bottom of the room. That is why, if caught in a fire in an apartment or a room, the safest place is down by the floor. Thank you.
Thank you. Finance report, Peg is not here. I understand she's away, and the review of the monthly operating costs has not taken place. It'll apparently happen this coming week, I believe. Anything of interest in the special committee reports, Dawn?
I received a landscape report from Maureen Peters and the health news from Gables West.
Okay, so they'll be all just included in the minutes. Okay, that's fine. Just new business. At the last meeting, comments were made that some floors decided not to hold a meeting due to the summer. And Bob mentioned, well, that's not what's in the bylaws. So I'd just like to get what each council member kind of thinks about that and what should we do, if anything. Start off with you, John. You have an opinion?
I think it should be just left alone and up to the floors what they want to do.
Phyllis?
I agree.
You agree? All right.
So far.
Dorothy?
I just followed what you told me in the memo, that we had to have it by the bylaws, so I never approached the residents about it one way or the other.
All right. Eric?
I agree.
Okay. Peggy?
Residents should make the decision.
Do you think we should change the bylaws?
I don't think we need to.
All right.
I'm not in favor of changing any bylaws at the present time.
Okay.
But I think the residents are the ones who decide whether they're going to show up for a meeting or not.
All right. Bob?
I also agree that it should be up to the residents, but something should be put in writing indicating that there would be a relaxation regarding floor meetings relative to the bylaws.
Okay. And frankly, I kind of agree with you. If the committee doesn't mind, maybe I'll put something together for your consideration for you, just to think about, all right? I mean, all the recommendations from FLICRA and the state have all said you're supposed to adhere to the bylaws. And they're not hard to change.
The key word there is recommendations.
Well, I agree with recommendations. It doesn't mean we have to follow it, but anyway, that's what I'll do for your consideration, okay? We move right along. Our next meeting will be the August 24th here in the town hall. So the meeting is concluded, and now we can entertain any questions from our residents, if anything that you would like to ask. Or any questions from you, the residents? If not, okay, folks, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.
We're going